Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homeschool with Brittany. Today, we are talking about the different types of college admissions and how to make the best decision for your student. There are several different types of college admissions. Today, we're going to talk about the four most common, which are early action, early decision, regular decision, and rolling admissions. And most colleges and universities will have probably at least two of these four types for your student to choose from when completing their application. And so it really is going to be necessary for you to decide which route your student is going to want to take. And we'll talk about all of that in this video. On a side note, if you hear my dog Vasha snoring in the background, I guess this is her nap time. So please just ignore her. And so the first type of college admission that we will talk about is early action. And so early action is really when your student is applying to a school first, right? They want to get an admissions decision faster than some of those other admissions types. Early action is going to allow them to do that, but it's going to require a couple of different things from them in order to get that earlier admissions decision from the admissions department. Early action is non-binding, so your student can apply to several different universities or colleges through early action without feeling like they are going to be, beholden to one college or university once those decisions come in. So it's a non-binding decision. They can apply to multiple colleges and universities through this action type, but they also will need to make sure that they are ready to apply by a specific deadline. Early action and early decision applications have the earliest admissions deadlines. So you'll just need to make sure that your student not only submits their application by that deadline, but any of the supplementary materials as well. So any essays, any supplemental questions that are asked, if they need to send in test scores, transcripts, all of those things have an earlier deadline than some of the other admissions types. So early action is admissions type number one. And early action, there are some universities and colleges use early action one and early action two. So you may have two different deadlines depending on when your student is able to submit their materials. And so again, if your student does not want to wait until the spring, until, maybe sometimes as late as February or March to find out where they've been admitted, then early action may be a great option. The second admissions type that we'll talk about is early decision. Now, the biggest difference between early action and early decision is early decision is a binding admissions type. So what that means is if they are offered admissions to a college or university through early decision, they are expected to attend. They are expected to deny any other offers that they get for admissions from other universities, and they are expected to accept the college or university offer of admissions if they apply through early decision. The other thing about this is that offer is really, or that binding component of the application is dependent upon finances, right? So it's saying that they will accept that letter of, or that offer of admissions if the university is able to meet their financial needs. So if, let's say that they are given grants and scholarships and loans in order to meet financial need, and they get accepted under early decision, they are expected to attend that university or that college because that decision is binding. Now, students can only apply to one school as an early decision applicant, whereas again, with early action, they can apply to multiple schools through that admissions type. And so early decision is great for students who have like one like a dream school. And they're like, if I get into this school, I don't care about any of the others anyways. I'm going here. And the pros of this are admissions committees know that students who apply through early decision are the most serious about wanting to attend that school. They are the most motivated to, they've chosen that school as their one school, as their dream school. So, again, it's showing those admissions officers that this is their first choice, and basically to reward them for that, admissions officers are going to give those students their decision earlier than any of the other application types, or, for some of the other application types that we'll talk about. So that's early decision. And the third application type that we'll talk about is regular decision. And so regular decision is basically you can apply to any college or university after those deadlines for early action and early decision. But the thing about regular decision is there is a deadline. It's just not going to be as early as the other two. So sometimes early action and early decision will have that same deadline that's going to be earlier in the fall semester, in the fall season. And then regular decision will have a deadline as well, but it's going to be a little bit later. So maybe it's going to be in December or January. And these deadlines are going to differ from university to university. So definitely make sure that you are aware of what the deadlines are. So for regular decision, it is a non-binding admissions type. Students can apply to as many universities or colleges as they want using regular decision. They will need to make sure that they apply by the deadline, that they, upload or submit all of their supplemental materials by that deadline as well. And they will get a decision back, but it will be after those students who have applied through early decision and early action. So those are going to be the decisions that may come in February or March, or even a little bit later, depending on when that regular decision deadline was. And so the last one that we'll talk about is rolling admissions. And rolling admissions, again, this is another non-binding admissions type. This just means that the college or the university is accepting applications throughout the application season, and there really is no hard deadline. They will accept applications until their freshman class is full. So if you have students who maybe applied for early decision or early action through some universities and did not get admitted through those application types, then if they have already missed the regular decision deadline, then they should be able to apply to colleges and universities that offer rolling admissions, because again, they're just going to continue to accept applications until that class is full. So then the question becomes, what is the best admissions type for your student? And the answer is it really just depends on what their plans are, what their goals are, and what really fits their needs. So again, if you have a student who has a dream school and they know without a shadow of a doubt that if they get admitted, then they are going to attend, then early decision would be the way to go. But you can only apply to one school through early decision. If they don't want to be bound to a specific school, let's say they want to keep their options open, or they don't have like a dream school or one place where they're like, I need to go here, then early action would probably be the best course of action, because number one, as long as they can meet the admissions deadlines, they're going to get their decision earlier, and they're not going to have to wait until, late in the spring to figure out where they're going to school. That stress, that anticipation of did I get in, is going to be lessened, because they're not waiting as long for an admissions decision. And early action is a great option because number two, you can apply through to multiple colleges through early action. Since it's non-binding, there really is no reason if they're going to be completing their applications, let's say using Common App, and they're completing multiple applications or one application for multiple schools at the same time anyways, they might as well submit all of those applications through early action, and then have potentially multiple letters of acceptance earlier than those students who wait until the regular decision deadline. The only thing about early action is they need to make sure that they meet those earlier deadlines. Sometimes they can be as early as, September 15th, October 1st, October 30th, that kind of thing. So make sure that they're aware of what those deadlines are. And again, it's not just the admissions application, but we're also talking about test scores. We're talking about letters of recommendation, transcripts, unofficial, typically transcripts, that kind of thing, all need to be submitted before those deadlines. And so regular decision is a great option for students maybe who need to take another SAT or ACT, right? So they're not going to know what their test scores are until a little bit later in the application decision, and the admissions decision or the application season, excuse me. So they don't know yet what those final scores are going to be. And maybe they just want to try like one more time, or they know they're going to need a little bit more time to write all of their essays, to get all of their letters of recommendation completed, and they're not really stressed about the admissions process. They may want to wait a little bit later. And so regular decision might be a good option for them, particularly if we're talking about schools that are safe schools. Maybe they want to wait until regular decision in order to apply for those universities. And then for rolling admissions, I would say rolling admissions is great for students who did not get into their first choice schools, right? So if they applied through early action, early decision, they didn't get in, but they still want to go and enroll in a university in the fall, then rolling admissions would be the way to go. If this video has been helpful, be sure to give it a like, to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. And even now, she's taking a couple classes up at the local high school But when she gets home, like what she just did a few minutes ago, it's like her and me together. So we've always been really in each other's space, sharing each other's space. And so her presence is pretty much always here. And so the thought of me in, just a couple months' time being in my space and not in her presence, or she's not in my presence, is really hitting home. And for some reason, even though I've known that this is coming, like I guess maybe I did not want to think about it too much. And I know for the most part, like I said, I'm very excited for her. I'm very um, I'm interested to see what the next phase of my life is going to be while she's away at college, and really, just kind of being an adult and living that life. But it's starting to hit me that like this is getting real. So some of the emotions that I've been having about this and trying to figure out my next steps and how to navigate through this time. First of all, I feel like I need to prepare myself, right? Because if I just kind of ignore it, if I act as if it's not going to happen, or I just try to gloss over it and just be like, yeah, she'll be in college soon and da 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 da, I think I'm going to set myself up for failure and do myself a disservice, because my emotions in this are going to come, and the emotions that I will feel are going to be very valid. And I just need to own those. I need to accept those. I need to really be in anticipation of how I'm actually feeling about it and allow myself to feel the way that I feel. So, as far as those emotions go, really, I think a part of it is going to be a lot of sadness, right? Because I think about it this way, like when you are, you're working, you're raising a family, you're busy, 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 and sometimes that doesn't leave you time to actually think about what, your emotions, process your emotions, be one with who you are. But when it starts to get quiet, like right when you go to bed at night and things have quieted down, or when you have a moment to really just think and you're undisturbed, that's when those emotions can start to creep in. And when you're not ready for them, they can hit you like a ton of bricks. So for me, I anticipate that in having so much quiet, I'm going to experience a lot of sadness, and that is going to creep in. Uh-uh. Go sit down somewhere. Oh, here we go. She's fine. She was just about to sit down. Thank you. And so for me personally, I know that that means that I'm going to have to find things to kind of fill my time and to kind of fill that void of sadness. It's not a void of sadness, but that void that I will feel by her not being physically here. And but another thing on the flip side of that that I know that I will experience, even though it's not an emotion, is a sense of freedom, because anyone who has raised kids knows how big of a task that is, and how much sacrifice that it takes, and how much energy and time and effort and money and all of those things that it takes to raise your kids. So for me, that's been like my primary role, my primary focus from day one. And I have, definitely been okay with that. But there's also a part of me that I know will relish in the freedom of not having, anything to do, right? And I know that my role as a parent does not stop just because she's going off to college or leaving my home. But at the same time, there's also freedom in being able to kind of do what I want, outside of work, being able to do what I want, go where I want, not have the constraints of, oh, I need to take her here, take her there, not having the constraints of her school schedule kind of holding me in place. So I will have the freedom to really start living the second half of my life. And honestly, what I think that might look like for me is not necessarily traveling, but relocating. Like, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is being able to move somewhere else. And that's not to say that we haven't been moving. We've lived in 3 states in the past like 3 or 4 years. So it's not that, but just kind of having the freedom to move where I want to move without checking to see how good the schools are, without picking an area specifically for school quality or for the things that I typically would need to consider. Now it's me moving somewhere because it might be the best fit for me. And I think part of that, though, as I'm saying it, brings up another emotion. It's not sadness, but maybe even a little bit of guilt. And I haven't kind of thought through this one that much, but maybe I'm feeling a little bit of guilt towards myself for not necessarily sacrificing what I've sacrificed, but not putting myself first in a lot of ways, in many instances, and many decisions that I've had to make over the years. So maybe I'm feeling girl, if you don't stop making noise, you are a mess. So maybe I'm feeling a little bit guilty about that. I think if I think about this long and hard enough, I will kind of look back on the last 16 years and maybe feel a little bit of guilt about some of the decisions that I've made, to where if she is not as, the person that I want her to be, or that she wants to be, as she's going off to college, then I'm going to definitely feel that guilt as well, because then it's a reflection of me and of my parenting. But I think, as I'm talking now, and I didn't have a script, I didn't have any notes or anything, what is coming to me is kind of like the fact that as we think through things, particularly as women, as we have a topic, we have something in mind, and as we think through things, like, we can go off in tons of different directions, right? Just think, in this conversation, I've talked about feeling guilty, talked about feeling sad, I've talked about freedom, but my mind is like going all over the place right now. And I think this just kind of goes to show how, when we're in our 40s, when we're in our 50s, when we're in this kind of age range, like, things change. The way that we process information changes. The way that we process our emotions change. And to me, that's kind of being reflected in just this video. I didn't really have too much more to talk about. This is something that I am going to be dealing with probably at least for the next year. In a year's time, she will already be gone, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, that just hit me as well. But it's something that I am dealing with. It's something that I am processing. I think just the biggest thing for me is I need to prepare myself not ignore what I'm feeling, not ignore what I know is coming. I can't do that, but I really just want to prepare myself as much as possible, not only for the next phase of her life, but also the next phase of my life, knowing that it will just be and me and the dog at that point, and nobody else, and having to be okay with that. All right. If any part of this conversation has been relevant to you, please feel free to like this video and to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. So earlier this week, my daughter started her senior year of high school, which is really, such a big deal. I'm so proud of her for getting through high school, middle school, elementary school, going through the entire process of schooling and coming out pretty much unscathed. But as much as I'm proud of her, I didn't really realize what that would do to me until, no. Hey there, and thank you so much for joining me here on Midlife No Makeup. My name is Brittany, and I just wanted to talk today about some of the things that I've been feeling regarding not only getting older, but getting older and dealing with the thought of being an empty nester, particularly in my case, a single empty nester. So earlier this week on Monday, my daughter had her last first day of school. She is officially a high school senior, and I'm very excited for her. She's very excited as well to almost be done with high school, but more so to be able to kind of transition into the new phase of her life when she goes off to college next year. So something though that I am kind of grappling with is, even though I'm so excited for her, I can't wait for her to kind of transition into that next phase, I'm really starting to think about, and it's really starting to hit me, the fact that I am soon going to be an empty nester. And I'm not really sure how I feel about that yet. I'm trying to stay positive, but the more that I think about it and the more that I kind of envision my life moving forward, the more that I have to say I'm actually a little scared. And here's why. So my daughter and I'm a single mom. My daughter is my only child, and she and I have been together, of course, all of her life, but I've been raising her by myself for pretty much the last 14 years, and she is 16 years old. So we have spent the majority of her life together, just she and I. And because of that, we spend a lot of time together. We have a great relationship. I love my kid fiercely, for real. And the other thing about this is, for off and on, we've been homeschooling. So she's spent more time with me than a lot of kids tend to spend with their parents. I work from home, so when she, for many years, she and I were just basically home together. I would be working, she would be in school.